I want to welcome everyone. I'd like to call tonight's meeting of the Monroe County Council to order for Monday, October 28th, 2024. I want to note for the record that Councilor Iverson's here in the room, Councilor Wiltz, Councilor Crossley, Councilor McKim, and I'm Trent Deckard here in the presiding officer chair. I think we will have more councilors here, or Councilor Huck will be joining us. I've not heard otherwise. Councilor Munson is absent with illness. I'll ask everyone to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flags of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
All right, councilors, if you've had a chance to look at tonight's agenda, I'll offer if anyone wants to have any agenda item amended to do so in a second. I do want to note for the record, YSB is requested to remove item 7B and commissioners remove item 11B. So we need to make note of that. So 7B and 11B. And without objection, I will order those removed. 7B and 11B. Hearing no objection, so ordered. All right, we've got that. Any other changes to this agenda? And I'll just note, councilors, there's a lot of different things packed in here, and I tried to arrange this the best way I could, but if people don't like how the buffet is, let me know and we can switch things up for sure. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm now out of metaphors for 2021. All right. We good with this agenda?
Yes.
All right. With that, the agenda being changed, let's do a voice vote since all are in the chamber at this point. All those in favor of the agenda as changed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is now changed. Let's move to and adopt it. Let's move on to item 4, which is public comment. This is for items not on the agenda, and there will be a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have anyone wishing to make a public comment on items not on the agenda tonight? If you do, come forward in the Nat U Hill room or raise your hand on Teams. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. This is Christopher from the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to speak mostly as a citizen and not from the Chamber perspective, but I just want to thank overall the process with the ARPA funding and how that's been very public, and specifically the additions and the improvements you made to Karst Park. Today is the last day of Cutters soccer. My son's going to be playing at 6 p.m. tonight, quick plug. And putting that investment to great assets in the county is very important, and using that money wisely benefits the community. It's good economic development to make these assets something where people want to travel for, and the soccer fields in that location are second to none, and it's a real gem in the county. I just want to appreciate all the work you've done on the ARPA funding, specifically when it has to do with Karst Park, and I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Other individuals in the Nat U Hill that wish to speak on public comment, and if you're on Teams and have a comment, raise your hand and come on forward, Mr. Davis.
Hello, my name is Joe Davis, 30-year resident, Monroe County. We're getting very close to the election. I would like all those who have not voted to get out, place their votes, especially place a write-in vote for Joe Davis for County Council at Large. He is a vote for the people. He's for fiscal responsibility. He represents a contingent of individuals who wish the jail and justice center to remain downtown. He is against the creation of a mini Lucas Oil Stadium in our downtown that will not serve the people, but only a select interest, business interest, that is. And as well, we need to stop giving away tax abatements to for-profit businesses here in Monroe County when we have so much more need. The citizens have much more need than just giving away freely the responsibility of caring for our sidewalks, our streets, our roads, our public buildings, and serving the people instead of just allowing any old for-profit business to run amok in our community. Thank you very much. Write in Joe Davis, County Council at Large. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public here in the Nayu Hill that wish to make a comment, make a comment in public comment? If you haven't, come on up to the Nayu Hill. If you're on Teams, raise your hand. I want to remind everyone that all are welcome in public comment, either in the Nayu Hill or on Teams. All right, I'm scanning here and I see no others. Let's go ahead and move on then. How about item number 5? It's departmental updates. There'll be a time limit of 10 minutes per department. And do we have any departments wishing to make an update here in the Nayu Hill? Give me a hand sign if you are. Okay, how about on Teams? All right. I don't see any. We'll move past that then. One last check. Okay, thank you very much. Move on to item 6. It's council liaison reports. Are there any counselors wishing to offer a liaison report? Councilor Crossley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep this brief. I am the liaison to the Monroe County Women's Commission, and at the end of the year, they will have several openings on the commission. There are some commissioners who are not seeking to be reappointed, so I just wanted to put a plug out there now before the end of the year for those that want to get involved in the community. The Women's Commission is a good way to start. They are doing some great things, such as they partner up with the City of Bloomington Women's Commission as well. Did the market day back in July, I believe, and also co-hosted and collaborated with a health fair that happened earlier this month as well. So just wanted to let folks know that there, again, are going to be some vacancies on the Women Commission. So if you are wanting to get involved, go to co.monroe.in.us and look for commissioner or commissions and apply for the Women's Commission. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Wiltz.
I just wanted to give an update on some happenings with our Parks Department. They have multiple major projects going on, some of which funded by ARPA, as mentioned in public comment, but some we funded with bonds and some coming from other sources within the county. They are making improvements across the county in several locations, in doing so in ways where they're anticipating to become under budget on several of those locations. So I just wanted to point that out, and if you want more information, you can check out the Parks Board meetings and minutes, because they do a lot of discussion there. But in addition to new turfed and lighted fields at Karst, and there's a new accessible restroom and play area at Flatwoods, and some other trail improvements across the county. So I just wanted to give them a little shout out. I went to a board meeting just a couple weeks ago and was really impressed with everything that's going on.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hawk.
Yes. Today I was in conversation with our treasurer, and she's happy to report a long-term county government employee who has been out for surgeries will be back, and she has arranged for the purchase of a chair that the lady is going to be able to sit in without experiencing as much pain. And so either she had to move forward with this chair so the employee could come back. And so I'm just suggesting that if there's not money in her budget, we'll just move it around and cover that if it's not available in any other budget, because she had to do it in order to welcome back the employee. The other conversation I've been in the past week is with our sheriff's department. And as many of us know, if reading the newspaper, the city, and bless their hearts, it was about time that they addressed this, but they have worked out a way that they're going to be able to give their law enforcement and their fire department a very considerable raise. Now, we already knew about this having to do with the fire department, because when the Monroe County Fire District came, their budget was changed at the very last minute because they had heard the large increase at the city for their fire department. And so the fire district wanted to make sure that they were not going to lose their valued trained employees over to the city's fire department. The same thing might be logically thought about when we think about the raise in a large raise that the city law enforcement will be receiving, because we've worked very hard with our sheriff's department to be able to get really good raises and for them. And they've been able to really try to fill in all of those vacancies that they've had. But already, one of the ones that they thought they had lined up has already determined that would not be coming, and if I understood it correctly, would be going to the city instead. So I had asked them to, just as a matter of curiosity, what would the dollar amount be to make them in parity with the city. Now, that's not to say that the county even has that kind of money, or if we had it, would we be willing to do it? And I know not everybody wants to discuss it, but I think it's absolutely, if you're the liaison to a department and you're aware that they might be losing a lot of their trained officers, I feel it's imperative to mention it. And so it will be up to them whether or not they want to proceed with requesting anything. We don't move forward with budgets. People have to come and ask us for changes, and any changes, I'm sure, would have to be made with county legal and with the representatives of the entire department. So I just wanted to bring that up to date, because that after doing such a great job of getting them where they needed to be, it's a round robin thing. One department raises it, and then everybody has to respond. So I don't know what the answer is, but we have to at least look at it.
Thank you, Councilor Hawk. And I also want to speak to that issue just briefly before we turn to the agenda, and note that I appreciate a communication from the sheriff indicating they were monitoring this and wanting to know our thoughts and intentions. I did some numbers, and I appreciate staff for getting those numbers for me. Without our staff, I'd had to make things up. But the numbers that we have calculated in the last, between October of this year into our next budget and October of 2022, just 2 years ago, that those positions we've increased by about 31.7%.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include a $2,000 retention bonus that we did back in the knee deep of things. What I've indicated to the sheriff is I think we need to have conversations around comparing those results. I was under the perception the city was attempting to catch up with us, but I may be wrong on that. And I want to know fact, not fiction, in this job. And so I've indicated to the sheriff, I think that we need to talk about it. I've suggested that counselors, myself, Councilor Crosley, Councilor Wiltz, be a starting discussion, but I've also said other counselors can certainly weigh in on that. We also heard a request for a pension change And I've heard interest in other departments in that as well, but that's also in the range of discussion about what a priority would be for the sheriff's department as we move forward. So appreciate that very much.
Right, and what I would like to make sure that we recognize is that when you look at what the city was going to do, it wasn't for their entire department of law enforcement. So we have to make sure we're looking at just the positions that the city would be doing that it would compare to. It wouldn't be the whole department.
Yeah. Councilor McKim?
Yeah, so Mr. Parker Chief Deputy Parker did send out a spreadsheet with an estimate of the impact of additional. Have you had a chance to review that yet? Okay, because we definitely want to, it looks, I mean, from the way I'm reading it, the additional funding requested would be about $700,000 to be able to bring those salaries. And so we definitely want to make sure you have a chance to go over those numbers before, the counselors would meet with the sheriff's office, just to make sure nothing's being missed.
Yeah, I looked at the numbers and I think they calculated their numbers a little off. But I have not had a chance to go through and look at those in depth. I've been working on other projects that have deadlines, so I will put that on my radar.
Okay,
Well,
because I do think it is important that we have that conversation with the sheriff.
Right.
Okay.
And to be clear, my concern is that they not use the percent of the raise or the total amount. I think it was either a $12,000 raise the city was giving. But what I want to see is not the 12,000 added on to what we've already done, because we were already ahead of them, but just what the difference would be between the two numbers. Not put the 12,000 on top of where we already are. And that might be the numbers that you have. So, but I have just been too sick to care, so I'll hang in here today as long as I can.
We definitely need all the more fact than fiction, and make sure we have the right numbers, we're getting the right questions, and looking at what the city has done. I honestly, I'll be, as much as I do read the headlines, and thanks to Mr. Haskins and others for providing them, I do not follow closely everything that the city does. And so I think we need time to figure that out, talk with the sheriff, figure out, again, priorities of departments as we move forward as well. Okay. All right. Any other announcements from liaison reports? All right. Let's move on to item 7, which is the consent agenda.
Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda items. A, the August 13th, August 27th, September 10th, and September 17th County Council meeting summary minutes, and the August 16th joint session summary minutes. C, the Highway Department's request and fund 1197-0000, stormwater management for a category transfer of $24,000 from the services category to the capital category, and the Board of Commissioners request and fund 1138-0000, cumulative capital development for a category transfer of $50,000 from the capital category to the services category.
Second.
All right. Let's see here. Any questions? Let me make sure I've got this right here. Any questions from council on the consent agenda? Any questions now from the public on the items on the consent agenda, or comments on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, let's go to a voice vote on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. Let's move on to item 8, Sophia Travis Community Service Grants Committee. And councilors Cheryl Munson, Jennifer Crossley, and Peter Iverson do serve on this committee, along with 2 citizen members, Hattie Johnson and Jenny Olm Stevens. I would defer to either Councilor Iverson or Munson. Do you have any opening comments before we hear?
Crossley.
Pardon me, Councilor Iverson or Crossley. Do you have any comments before we introduce our guests to discuss this.
Yes, thank you. This year, of course, Councilor Munson is the chair of the Sophia Travis Grant Committee, which, by the way, I talked to her today and she sends greetings. She wishes she could be here, but we are keeping in the spirit of Councilor Munson and hope to see her much, much soon. But this year, we had a total of $167,000 of grant funds to award out to those who applied. And the different thing that happened this year was collaborative applications. So this year we had about 2 of those. And we just wanted to try something that was a little bit different. And hopefully next year we would be able to do that again and have a little bit more of collaborative applications. Again, with the talk of inflation, one of the biggest things that we continue to see is the rise in food costs. And we saw lots of needs in our community for those that are trying to help feed our most vulnerable populations, our unhoused, and just overall community. So that was the biggest thing that we saw that has continued year after year since I have been on the committee. And of course, as always, it's always a pleasure to serve. But yeah, again, the noted was a lot of food insecurity that we continue to see in our community. So I just wanted to say many thanks to those who applied, did all of the paperwork. Thank you to our staff that worked tirelessly with all of the things that we had to do. And yeah, looking forward to seeing Ms. Stevens, Jenny Olm Stevens, read what we are granting.
Yes, Councilor Iverson.
I just real quick before Ms. Stevens begins, I do think it's important to note that the council has been giving these monies out to community service organizations since 2008. And of course, on September 10th, 2013, we changed the name of the fund to be the Sophia Travis Community Services Grants Program to recognize Sophia Travis's immense impact in this community and marking her untimely death. So I join what Councilmember Crossley has said because I cannot say it any better and return the mic to you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. I want to introduce Ms. Jenny Olm Stevens, one of our committee members, to tell us how these grants have been allocated.
Thank you. I wanted to recognize Hattie Johnson also as a community member, and that's a really important part of government that we have community members serve on these committees. And it was a privilege to hear the applications, to learn more about my community and the volunteers who do such wonderful work for us. I'm going to announce the awards, and I just want to let the awardees know that the city administrators will be contacting you via email to stipulate.
County, we're not
County,
city.
sorry, city, county, the wrong C. So they will be contacting you via email so that you don't need to phone into them. They will make sure that you are getting your paperwork and notifications. We are awarding $5,000 to all options for their Hoosier diaper programs. We are making an award to Amethyst House of $3,520 for their residential food program. We are awarding $500 for Back the Line Hometown Heroes Campout. Beacon will receive $6,330 for their safe food storage. $2,880 will be awarded to Be Loved Transportation. Help is on the way. Big Brothers and Big Sisters will receive $6,650 for their school and site-based mentoring programs. BDLC, called Bloomington Development Learning Center, will receive $1,230 for their preschool fine arts enrichment program. Bloomington Refugee Support Network will receive $4,250 for their asylum seeker and refugee support. The Boys and Girls Club will receive $5,380 for Feeding Ellettsville Youth Club. The Cancer Support Community will receive $3,330 for supplies and resources for cancer patients. $3,130 is awarded to Catholic Charities for meeting them where they are at. The Chamber of Commerce will receive $2,750 for their career cruise. $2,740 is awarded to a Community Justice and Mediation Center for materials and scholarships. College Mentors for Kids will receive $2,880 for the service that they provide for youth in Monroe County. Community Kitchen will receive $5,130 for their free meal service food. $4,500 will be awarded to the Courage to Change Sober Living, and that will facilitate rent scholarships. El Centro Communal Latino will receive $3,500 for rent and utility assistance. Girls Rock Bloomington will receive $4,400 for their summer camp. $3,310 will be awarded to Grace Center for their food purchases. Hoosier Hills will receive $5,270 for their walkie pallet jack replacement. $3,430 is going to Hoosiers Feeding the Hungry for their Meat for Foods. Indiana Recovery Alliance will receive $7,250 for enhancing accessibility, privacy for expanded harm reduction services. Lotus will receive $2,800 for Artist Residency School Program. $2,550 is going to be given to Monroe County Humane Association for their pet food pantry. Monroe County United Ministries will receive $2,250 for expanding the nutritional support for Compass Early Learning Center families. Middle Way House receives $3,280 for the RISE cleaning supply kits. $5,190 is awarded to Mother Hubbard's Cupboard for their MHC pantry support. $5,750 is awarded to New Hope for Families for their Early Learning Center food program. New Life will receive $5,250 for their Breaking Down Barriers program. PALS, People and Animal Learning Services, will receive $2,250 for their Valiant Strides initiative. Pantry 279 will receive $4,250 for their nutritional food for insecure families. $3,750 is awarded to Planned Parenthood for Bloomington Health Center operations. $2,130 is awarded to Redbud for their youth programming. Second Baptist Church will receive $5,000 for their Feed the Needy. Stone Belt will receive $3,000 for their adult changing table for employment fundamentals. Susie's Place will receive $8,420 for their Child Advocacy Center expansion project. St. Vincent de Paul will receive $4,490 for their Getting Beds Off the Floor. Tandem will receive $3,500 for their mental health in pregnancy and postpartum. $2,350 will be awarded to Welcome Table First Christian Church for the Welcome Table Breakfast. Wheeler Mission will receive $2,100 for their Bloomington Respite Space. We now had two collaborative proposals. We are giving an award of $1,600 to a collaborative proposal from My Sister's Closet and Wheeler Mission for rounding up to support financial wellness. And then we had a collaborative proposal from 14 agencies. They will receive an award amount of $9,730. It's for nonprofit CPR collaboration. Those agencies are Middle Way House, Amethyst House, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Bloomington Creative Glass Center, Bloomington Montessori School, Cancer Support Community, Lotus, Monroe County History Center, Mother Hubbard's Cupboard, People and Animals Learning Services, PALS, Tandem, Windfall Dancers, and Wonderland. Thank you for receiving this report, and good luck to the agencies and their administration.
Did you read, there's one, a collaborative, My Sister's Closet?
Yeah, she
You read
did.
that? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. All right, we'll take a motion on the tire resolution.
Council, I move to approve Resolution 2024-27, award of Sophia Travis Community Service Grants as read by Ms. Stevens, to be split in Parts A and Part B. Part B, awarding agencies all options and Planned Parenthood totaling $8,750, and Part A, awarding the remained mentioned agencies totaling $158,250 for a grant total distribution of $167,000.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion or in second. Are there any council comments or questions at this point? Councilor McKim.
Oh, I just, I really like the collaborative approach, and I hope we see more of that even in the future. I think that's a great idea, and I think I particularly like the idea of providing kind of a smaller number of larger strategic awards, and I think that this is definitely at least a small step towards that kind of approach. So congratulations to everybody involved. Thank you.
Other councilor comments? Councilor Wiltz.
I'd just like to thank the members of council and the community members who served on this committee, because it's a lot of work. It's an intense, short period, perhaps. It's not all year long, but I've been on that committee. It is so rewarding to look through all the applications and look at all the good work being done across the community. So I know it has its own reward, and you don't need my thanks, but I really appreciate that you all are willing to serve in that way and help get what we have to give out to the community.
Thank you, Councilor Wiltz. Councilor Iverson.
I wanted to put a finer point on the collaborative projects. I wanted to draw everyone's attention to the nonprofit CPR collaboration. If you've ever worked in a nonprofit, you know CPR training is mandatory, and these organizations came together and said, how can we pool resources? On their application, they suggested that they think they're going to be serving 97,340 people. That's a big bang for our buck. That's really fantastic, and I just really want to laud all of those agencies that came together to put in one application to serve that many people, to make sure that first aid and CPR is going to be available in our community.
Councilor Iverson. Other comments from councilors at this point? Okay. Yes, Councilor Crossley.
I was just gonna ask somebody over at the table, maybe Mr. Jeff Cockrell, to maybe we got an email from a concerned resident of the county considering, basically asking us to vote no on all options and Planned Parenthood. But I just wanted to make sure to dispel any myths that the email that we received, that this is going towards abortion funding or anything like that. That is not what funds are supposed to be used for, correct?
Mr. Cockrell.
I would think that if the question, as I understand it, is whether those could be used for abortions, and I believe that is not legal in the state of Indiana except under certain circumstances. I don't know off the top of my head what those are, but certainly that they could not use our funding for an illegal purpose.
Correct. Okay. That's what I just wanted to make sure. Because definitely all options is, well, it said, as Ms. Stevens read, is for their diaper program. And as a mom of 3 and inflation and a lot of different things, diapers are really high among a lot of other things. And so they definitely showed what their funds were supposed to be for. And in particular, Planned Parenthood, they do a lot more and they provide services for folks who don't have health services. So I just wanted to dispel any myths or anything else for anybody out in the public who might be in the audience or who might be watching or will watch later. I sure hope that folks can understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Crossley. Michelle.
I just want to say that copies of the applications are online under our Sophia Travis Grant Committee website page, and the public is free to review those applications. And of course, all options as well as Planned Parenthood and all the others are on there for the public to review. So, yeah. Just so that you know, it says the health services will continue to provide. The Bloomington Health Center includes annual wellness exams, the full range of birth control and contraception, emergency contraception, breast cancer and testicular cancer screenings, cervical cancer screenings, and advanced diagnosis and care. So they have a whole list of everything that's on there, and abortion is not one of them.
Thank you. All right. Counselors, any other comments on this end? If not, we'll go to public comment. And for public comment, I will give a time limit of 3 minutes for each speaker that we might have. I'm going to ask for a show of hands here in the Nat U. Hill room for anyone wishing to make a public comment on the Sophia Travis Grants Award. So I've got one. Any others? All right. How about on Teams? If you wish to make a comment, raise your hand on Teams. Okay. Mr. Davis, if you want to go first, and we'll begin.
Hello, yes. Joe Davis, 30-year resident, Monroe County. As you can see, many of the awards of the Sophia Travis funding are those same people, who utilize or are brought into our local justice system in downtown Bloomington. Many of those folks, New Life, New Leaf, many of those organizations, they serve the marginalized populations that we have. Sometimes those marginalized populations get into trouble. They have to face adjudication in our court system. It's very important that those individuals who are served by those Sophia Travis recipient agencies are still finding that they are served in downtown Bloomington as they always have been for over 200 years. The Justice Center, the jail, the essential clerks, office necessities, the Sheriff's Department, they should all remain downtown where we have the space, where the public already owns land, and that we can more efficiently take care of our citizenry. So thank you for the awards to these groups. Let's tighten up our ship and make sure that everyone is cared for as efficiently as possible. Thank you.
On Teams, if there's anyone that wishes to make a comment, raise your hand. I'll go back to the room. Anyone in the room that wishes to make a comment on the Sophia Travis Grants Awards? All right. How about Teams? Last call. I'm going to watch for just a few seconds. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to conclude the public comment portion, and I'll return to council before we turn to these separated resolutions as Councilor Crossley read. Any further council comments or questions? Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I just wanted to say a big thank you to the council for allowing me to be able to participate in this vote.
Thank you. I just want to express on behalf of everyone up here in the community, thanks to the counselors, including Councilor Munson, who have worked on this process over a number of years and led with it. I served on this, I believe, 2 different years, and It's not easy to make those decisions, but the process that we have is one of the best I ever saw in a public body. And I just appreciate all the members that have thought diligently about these needs. It isn't easy. And to our community members, thank you as well, because you're a huge part of why this works so well. And that perspective is just immense for us. All right, with that, we will conclude the remarks up here, and we'll go to a roll call vote on Resolution 2024-27. This is B, which is for all options in Planned Parenthood as a separated question. So this is for all options in Planned Parenthood. Please call the roll.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
No.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Okay, and now we will turn to 2024-27A, which is the awards for the remaining stated agencies read by Ms. Stevens. We'll go to a roll call.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Right. This concludes the Sophia Travis Community Service Grants, and I think it'd be okay to clap for all this that's going out there. All right, agencies, make good use of it, and we'll see how this goes. All right, we'll turn now to item 9 on the agenda, which is the adoption of the 2025 budget for the Monroe Fire Protection District, Monroe County Solid Waste Management District, and of course, Monroe County. And so we'll start first with ordinance 2024-47, the Monroe Fire Protection District. We've got, I'm going to pass these down. This is, I'll make sure I've got it right here.
Okay. Fire Protection District. All right.
And so let me ask the will of the council on this. You have the resolution before you. We read it in full at the last full meeting, and this has been heard in hearing. Our counselors, can I have the consent to open this by a motion open this particular budget for adoption? Okay. Yeah. With consent, so ordered. So we will now turn to the Monroe Fire Protection District budget adoption. Counselors, any comments or questions, further comments or questions on this budget? No? It's been well discussed. I want to note the chief and Ms. Sorensen of the board are here as well. Okay. All right, with no further, let me see here.
Wait, is she gonna read at least make a motion, or is that still happening?
Well, we can do that. Let's do this. That's kind of what my question was getting to. Let's read this preamble to the top into the record, and then we'll have that.
All right. Ordinance number 2024-47, be it ordained by the Monroe County Council that for the expenses of the Monroe Fire Protection District for the year ending in December 31st, 2025, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered, set apart out of the several funds herein named, and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided by law, In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of the Monroe Fire Protection District, the property tax levies and the property tax rates as herein specified are included herein. Budget Form 4B for all funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approved by the Monroe County Council.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions on this budget, councilors? Yes.
And just to confirm, this has not changed since the first reading. Okay.
No, it has not.
And I'm going to, just for the record, we have it has not, from Michelle, from Fire Chief. This is the same thing, no changes, correct? All right, it's been duly noted. All right, any other councilor questions or comments? Okay, let's go to then a roll call vote on this budget.
Counselor Iverson? Oh,
We've held a public hearing on this budget previously. I read that, but I'm going to turn to Ms. Cockrell, legal, to make sure I'm doing this right, because I don't want to be wrong.
It's your discretion whether you would have public comment again. If you've had a public hearing.
Mr. Davis, do you have a comment on this budget? Okay, then come on forward and we'll make it. If anyone else, I'll be looking to you next. We always want to make sure public comment is taken. If you have a comment on Teams, raise your hand as well. Mr. Davis.
Yes, Joe Davis here. The amounts that are appropriated for the increases in our impacts from flood, drought, fire are not enough in this budget. Our public needs to be more protected. We just had a major storm event, wind event, end of June, took down vegetation everywhere across our county. Our county became a disaster county. Funds have been opened up from the Small Business Administration and Homeland Security. I just received a notice today from Homeland Security that after being declined a small business loan to clean up my property and the damage that took place, that I could qualify for a $10,000 grant from Homeland Security. These types of issues are just going to be continuing to rise. We need to prepare the public to be resilient. We need to have monies set aside to address these issues that pop up. Without preparation, this is the new climate we're living in. So therefore, I ask, and representing the other taxpayers of Monroe County, we ask that additional funds be appropriated in preparation for disasters such as what we have just experienced. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Other public comments here in the NAU Hill or on Teams? All right, seeing none. I'll go back to counselors if you have further comments. All right, we'll go to a roll call vote, and this is on the Monroe Fire Protection District.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Hogg?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
All right, thank you very much. We will now turn to the Monroe County Waste Reduction District 2025 budget, and I'll ask the preamble to that budget be read into the record.
Ordinance number 2024-48, be it ordained by the Monroe County Council that for the expenses of Monroe County Solid Waste Management District for the year ending December 31st, 2025. The sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all expenditures authorized to be made during the year, unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District, the property tax levies and the property tax rates as herein specified are included herein. Budget Form 4B for all funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government and Local Government Finance. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval by the Monroe County Council.
Second.
All right. We'll first go to council comments on the Waste Reduction District budget. Councilor McKim.
And just to confirm again, no changes since first reading.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. I believe Mr. McGlasson is online as well. Tom, if you can confirm what Michelle has said, no changes since the last reading.
Yeah, that is correct. No changes from the first reading.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments you wanted to make briefly?
I'm sorry, was that directed at me?
Yeah, if you had any other comments you wanted to make, I want to make sure I wasn't cutting that off.
No, I think everything has already been addressed at the previous work sessions and hearings on this.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we'll now go to public comment on this Waste Reduction District budget for 2025. If you've got comments here in the Nat U Hill, come forward to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. Yeah, come on up, Mr. Davis.
Hello, Joe Davis. The current budget doesn't have enough for education of the public in it. We, the taxpayers, strongly ask for more education as to which recycling materials are appropriately recyclable. The state of California has recently sued the plastics industry for selling us a story that plastics are recyclable. Currently, we are collecting these plastics at every recycle center in the county, and they just are going straight to the landfill. They might be weighed, but they're going straight to the landfill because there is no market. We need, as a community, to make a decision that plastic is not in our best interest for the future. The Solid Waste Management District is the best entity to educate the public in this fashion. That budget needs to be dramatically increased for this purpose. Our landfills are filling up with plastics. Our bodies are filling up with plastics. We need a different future because we are leaders in our state, in the Midwest, and in the country. Thank you.
All right. Other comments here in the Nat U Hill, come forward or raise your hand on Teams. Okay, I'll return to council comments. Anyone have any additional comments they wish to make? All right, we will go to then a roll call vote on this budget.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, we'll now turn to ordinance 2024-49, the Monroe County 2025 budget. And I'll ask Councilor Crossley to read the preamble to that into the record.
Ordinance number 2024-49. Be it ordained by the Monroe County Council that for the expenses of Monroe County for the year ending December 31st, 2025, the sums herein specified are hereby appropriated and ordered set apart out of several funds herein named and for the purposes herein specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Such sums herein appropriated shall be held to include all the expenditures authorized to be made during the year unless otherwise expressly stipulated and provided for by law. In addition, for the purposes of raising revenue to meet the necessary expenses of Monroe County, the property tax levies and the property tax rates as herein specified are included herein. Budget Form 4B for all the funds must be completed and submitted in the manner prescribed by the Department of Local Government Finance. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect from effect and after its passage and approval by the Monroe County Council.
Second.
All right. Council comments on this budget. Councilor Iverson.
I do believe that we have received an updated 4B and really encouraged by how we have gotten everything tidied up. You look at what we've done previously, it's really moved in the right direction. So I'm thankful for the updated 4B that was sent out by staff.
Other councilor comments? Councilor McKim.
I'm going to ask the same question I've asked before. The numbers have not changed since first reading.
You are correct. There have been no changes made.
Oh, okay, only the changes to the 4B, which
The 4B.
I also appreciate. I do think we have to acknowledge that we are passing a budget that, at least on paper, is a deficit budget in both the general fund and the PS Lit fund. On the other hand, I'd say there's probably a pretty good chance that the reversions that we see will probably be well over that deficit by the end of the year. That's certainly the pattern that we've seen in the past, but it's definitely something to be monitoring carefully, and hopefully, I probably won't even get that email anymore, but I'm sure the rest of you will look forward to seeing what the December 31st balances are. And also, just to clarify with the auditor's office, we're good with the approach to the health levy. We've confirmed that approach is acceptable to the state.
Yeah, so we've spoken with the Indiana Department of Health and also our internal legal team, and everyone is on board and comfortable at this time.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I haven't had an opportunity to look at the updated 4B if it came out today, or did it come out today?
Last week.
It was last week. And
Well, I was just going to ask you if you changed the one I asked you to.
I did. All requested updates have been made, and thank you for your assistance with that.
Okay, thank you. If what we're discussing right now is not just the 4B, but the entire budget, while I appreciate all the hard work, and boy, I recognize this was a difficult year, because for some reason, no matter how much we might want to concentrate on the budget, they kept throwing something else under our face. You've got to do this first, do this first. And the budget got put off to last. And so I think there was a lot of changes being made. It looks like as if there's still more changes in the agenda for today. So I regret that we sort of got caught up in a whirlwind, and that whirlwind took over the council's major role is to look after this budget that we're passing or voting for or against. Now, there were many things in this budget that I objected to, and I made my objections known at the time. several things that I saw in the commissioner's budget I thought could be adjusted. And at a time when we're going to the public and saying we don't have enough money to do X, Y, and Z, so we're going to put on this new tax, but we continue to spend more than we're bringing in. And last year we said the same thing. We spent in the deficit and counted on reversions. We're going to fix the whole thing. So I just want you to all know that I appreciate what all you've done, but I am just a fiscally more conservative than some, and that's just the way I am, and I'm not going to change now. So, but I appreciate if this is what majority wishes to do, I understand you'll vote for it. It's just not something I could do. And I did many times try to suggest some changes, and it was not something that people wanted. But at the end of the day, as I said before, we have different philosophies, and the people vote for what they want their people to represent them. And so that's why I will not be supporting this budget.
Other council comments? Councilor Wiltz.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear Councilor Hawk's comments because in a lot of ways I agree. I think perhaps I'm more fiscally conservative than I like to admit because I do feel uncomfortable counting on reversions, as you say. I don't think that's an appropriate way to go about what we're doing. I recognize that there are some of those reversions we could address proactively for 2025 in looking at why they occur and de-appropriating or changing the following budget to reflect more accurately what is needed and what is spent. I think that's something that we've missed. And I think it's not that we aren't aware of it and it hasn't been discussed. And I don't think it's something that really any would have much objection on this council. It is truly that there are so many tasks involved in getting to this point on the budget that it is difficult to get everything, to get every little corner folded and tucked exactly right, and every little piece of dust swept up in exactly the right way. We're putting together something that is huge, and it's functional, and it works for the greater good, and I will support it. I feel obligated to just mention that there are some things about it that make me a little uncomfortable that I hope in the next year maybe to bring out in discussion a little bit earlier, perhaps in the process, so that we can work through those, as uncomfortable as those conversations might be. Thank you.
Councilor Iverson.
I have a little bit of a different take. I do see this budget as a significant milestone in Monroe County's journey forward, and I'm honored to support it. I believe that this budget reflects our commitment to building a resilient community for our residents. And I want to go over some things that this budget has in it that I think are very important investments, so that doesn't get lost in the remarks that we're talking about. First, we recognize that our greatest asset, which is our dedicated county employees, that in response to ongoing economic pressures, we are now implementing meaningful cost of living adjustments to help folks ensure that their quality of life is keeping up with inflation. We also build on this commitment by expanding the Employee Services Department. That's going to offer additional enhanced benefits and support systems to make sure that Monroe County is a place where people want to work. We're also taking bold steps in the climate crisis in this budget. This is the first time that Monroe County has ever hired a climate employee. This is a major step forward in the history of our community. I think it's important. We also are emboldened fiscal responsibility in our decision making. We now have, we're strengthening our financial foundation by bolstering our rainy day funds, and we have measures ensuring that we can maintain essential services by establishing clear fund balance targets. We also note that this is the year that transportation is a noteworthy topic and that the rural transit will continue through 2025, largely thanks to this council's fiscal leadership under President Trent Deckard. Now, the last thing I'll note that this budget has in it that I think is noteworthy is a strong collaborative relationship with department heads. We could not do this without department heads, and we are simply the vehicle to make this happen. I will note that this budget does not have some things in it. Particularly, it does not address housing shortages in Monroe County, which we've talked about a lot. We also know that we need to do more on climate action. We need to step up our game by making sure that we're adopting and implementing the Climate Resilience Plan. And in matters of justice, we note that we have made meaningful progress, but the journey requires sustained commitment. And we're really looking forward to more fully implementing the findings of the Justice Fiscal Advisory Commission and making database investments in the Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council, or JRAC. Let me close by saying I think that this budget really reinforces the values, the principles, and a vision for Monroe County's future, and I'm very excited to support this budget as we move forward with transparency, fiscal responsibility, and significantly making sure that we're addressing our community's diverse needs.
Thank you very much, Councilor Iverson. Councilor McKim.
Yeah, thank you. May I just address quickly a couple of the comments that my colleagues made? Just one clarification. I don't believe this budget actually includes the expansion in employee services, does it? No. Okay.
No, it does not.
All right. So that's not included in here. And then also I wanted to address Councilor Wiltz's comments, which I mean are well taken. But I do want to clarify that it's not like we're relying on the reversions to be able to afford this budget. Even if we look at the numbers here on the 4B, even if we spend every penny of the appropriated budget and there are no reversions at all, we're still well above the target balances, that fund balances that this council voted on. So I don't want to make it sound like we're right on the cliff of despair. We're still, the fund balances still look very good. But yeah, could we have done more in terms of capturing those reversions in advance, which I think is a lot of what Councilor Wiltz was referring to? Yeah, we could have.
Thank you, Councilor McKim. Councilor Hawk.
One of the things that when I was going over the 4Bs last week was I saw that the amount entered for the debt was not what we voted on. Was it like, remind me, because lots happened in the last few days. What on the
in the gateway, and what was entered into gateway?
Right, maybe that's what I saw. I'm sorry, I thought it said 4 million for.
I believe that the commissioners and legal are going for a $3 million bond. Is that correct, Mr. Cockrell?
Well, I think typically, because we haven't sold the bond yet.
Exactly.
We will advertise that higher because we don't have the final interest rate, and so we don't want to be anywhere close to a point where we could not fund it from property taxes. That would be very hard to sell a bond if you did not have enough tax rate to pay for it when you say you're going to pay for it with a tax rate. So what happens is it gets put into the gateway at this point at a rather high level. When we get the bond sold, we know the exact amount. So when you look at the 1782 statements at the end of January, it will reflect that difference. Does that make sense?
But the bond shouldn't be more. Why? I mean, if we're going to borrow $3 million, I know you've got to have the other, cover your interest and so forth. But if everyone else is happy with it, well, proceed.
Auditor, do you have some illumination on this?
If I may, we addressed this last year as well. However, this is the procedure that the county has been going through for years and years and years. And I'm not saying that that's the correct way to go. However, in this case, it is. We have to account for, like Mr. Cockrell said, interest, other fees, etc. So we have enough funding to pay the bond when that comes to it, and it hasn't closed yet. So we don't have those exact amounts. So we have to have that buffer in order to be able to close the debt and follow through and pay our debts then.
This is akin to literally the payoff date on your mortgage. It depends on the day of the month and when and the rate and
Right.
creek don't rise and all that stuff, right?
Did take into consideration and lowered it from what normally we advertise around 5 million. We lowered that to 4, which is sufficient, taking into consideration the opinion of the council from last year.
Other comments? Councilor McCann.
Well, and just do either of you have offhand the amount that we actually approved?
Technically, it hasn't been approved yet. It will be approved at your November 12th meeting is when we advertise final approval. I don't have the number off the
But
top.
I'm sorry, yeah, what was presented to us?
It was around 3 million, maybe at most 3.1. I don't have the document in front of me. Typically, it's 3 million, but I think one year we included some of the closing costs, so we said not to exceed a little bit higher amount, but it ended up being close to 3 million. So I don't have that document in front of me, but it's between 3 and a little over 3 million.
And then what agenda, what date did you say that would
November
be on?
12th.
Thanks.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, we had a major discussion on this last year. And if you recall, we all said, we're not going to do that this year. We're going to have that done in advance so that when we vote on something and the taxpayers being told this is what it is, we will have already had this over with. And once again, it's not. So those of us who have to vote on this should be pushing our pedal down and saying, get this done earlier.
Yeah.
Plus, we've had nothing else to do this year.
Yeah, and that's the point I want to raise. The council has a job and has done a job, and it's this budget. And this budget is not perfect, and I can guarantee you that. There are department heads in this room that can tell you right now areas where this budget could be either more robust, less robust, and that might be their department or others. And there are counselors here that I hear like portions, don't like portions, wish this were not. But it is the budget that we have before us. We will adopt it soon, comply with the state, and if I'm not wrong, if we don't do that within a few days, we're in trouble. The state will say, you go with last year's budget or what have you. So under the timeline that we have, this is the budget we have. Now, what I will say to counselors is this. I've watched this since 2019. I've watched it very carefully. The minute this budget's done, in fact, as we talk about this budget, the next one is being crafted. This one's being fixed. Things from 2024 and 3 are in the mix. And then there's the old bond money too, not to mention getting all the ARPA money done. So we will continue to perfect this budget, other budgets towards something, and literally we'll be fixing. So it's never done when it's done. And literally a department will tell us in 20 seconds about something not accounted for, and it just happens. It's normal, and that will do it. But there is a COLA in this. It's not the COLA it was before, but it is a COLA. It's a significant COLA. And as I always say, as a child of a county employee, now retired, it's a good COLA in comparison to some that I saw. And so this council's done its due diligence and its job, and we'll come back to that. We have had pressing issues all year, whether it is our correctional facility, which is our duty. We're bound to do it. We've dealt with ARPA dollars. We've dealt with rural transit dollars. We've been able to do things others were not able to do, and we will continue to do that. And so it's a work in progress. Okay. Other comments from council? Let's see what the public has a comment on with this budget. And I'll invite those in the public to come forward here in the Natu Hill or raise your hand on Teams.
She's not here.
Hello, my name is Joe Davis. I represent TOP, the taxpayer objection petitioners. I ask that this document be entered into the record for tonight's meeting. We, the taxpayer objection petitioners, object to any funds going to the Monroe County Convention Center, the Visitors Bureau, the maintenance of the Convention Center and Visitors Bureau, and the debt service toward both of those. The Convention Center and Visitors Bureau is doing the citizens of Monroe County an injustice. They are promoting false narratives in which the public is being told the story that creating a mini Lucas Oil Stadium in the heart of our town is in the public's best interest, when it is not. The public does not want it. It's called for a $100 million investment in this mini Lucas Oil Stadium. Currently, in this budget, there are $4.2 million being appropriated for the ongoing debt service, maintenance, staffing of the Monroe County Convention Center and Tourist Visitors Bureau. If we just extrapolate that perhaps this is probably an overestimate as to the value of the existing convention center and the Visitors Bureau of having a value of $10 million. We're appropriating $4.2 million. Okay, let's extrapolate. We are told that the public is going to invest $100 million in this mini Lucas Oil Stadium. Okay, let's just multiply by 10. That means that next year, the budget, or the subsequent year, or subsequent years, the budget will be 10 times $4.2 million. That is $40 million of the taxpayers' money squandered to serve only a few, squandered when we have much more pressing needs. We need to keep our Justice Center, the Charlotte T. Zitlow Justice Center, downtown, where it serves the people, as it always has been, instead of creating a faux economy in which the people of Bloomington, the people of Monroe County will not even be able to have any sort of civic use of this structure unless they pay a ticket price. This will not stand. The taxpayer objection petitioners ensure you of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis. All right. Any other comments on this budget? If you have them, come forward in the Now You Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Seeing none, we'll turn to counselors for any further comment. All right. Seeing none. Let's go to a roll call vote on adopting this budget.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
No?
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
All right. Thank you very much. And there was a request for a clarification on that COLA statement I made. It's a 3.2% cost of living adjustment that you will start hearing about in the salary ordinance, which we turn to next. So we will go with a reading of the 2025 Monroe County Salary Ordinance.
An ordinance adopting the Monroe County, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies for county elected officials, ordinance 2024-50A. Now it be ordained by the Monroe County Council of Indiana that this ordinance affixes the number of and compensation for elected officials of the county from the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, whose salary is comprised of funds payable from and any county fund or budget as provided by Indiana Code 36-2-5, are hereby solidly affixed, and the following maximum level of salary is shown on the elected official salary compensation grid. All payments made pursuant to this ordinance are contingent upon the strict compliance with and adherence to the benefit, compensation, fiscally related, and state and federally mandated requirements of the Monroe County Personnel Policy Handbook. It is the intent of the County Council that this language will encourage compliance with personnel policies which may have a fiscal impact on Monroe County government.
Right.
Second.
Got the ordinance motion and a second. Discussion from council on this salary ordinance. This is the first of two salary ordinances. Councilor McKim.
Gonna ask the same question I've asked before. Same as it ever was. Same.
We have made no further changes.
Okay, thank you.
We'll talking head going on there. That's awesome. All right, other council comments or questions? All right. For public comment, please come forward in the Nat U Hill to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay, and now we'll turn to the second part, the salary ordinance for Monroe County employees.
An ordinance adopted Monroe County, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies for county employees, ordinance 2024-50B. Be it ordained by the Monroe County Council of Indiana that this ordinance affixes the number and compensation of employees of the county from the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, including all officers, deputies, assistants, and other employees whose salary is comprised of funds payable from and county fund or budget as provided by Indiana Code 36-2-5. This compensation is limited by the following lines in the maximum levels of salary shown on the salary compensation grids. All payments made pursuant to the ordinance are contingent upon the strict compliance with and the adherence to the benefit, compensation, fiscally related, and the state and federally mandated requirements of the Monroe County Personnel Policy Handbook. It is the intent of the County Council that this language will encourage compliance with personnel policies which may have a fiscal impact on Monroe County government.
Second.
All right, comments from council on this. We kind of let the cat run out of the bag on this one in our discussion, but it does reflect a 3.2% COLA and council and department head diligence in that, same as the year before. Councilor McKim.
Any changes since so we did approve some, I'm trying to remember last time we approved some salary ordinance amendments and not others.
That is correct. But those are updated there was a packet. And so those changes that you approved at the last meeting are reflected in that part of the agenda where it concerned classification changes or hour changes. So those have been updated accordingly.
Okay, but the salary ordinance that we are passing for 2025 has
those updated changes in there.
It does have the changes
does,
that we,
yes.
okay, all right.
Yes. Yeah, I updated the 2024 and then I went ahead and updated the 2025 accordingly.
Only the ones that we actually passed unanimously last time. Okay.
If it did not pass, it is not in there.
That is correct.
All right.
I only passed those that were approved unanimously.
Fair point. Other councilor comments or questions? All right, let's go to the public on the salary ordinance. If you have a comment here in the Nat U Hill, raise your hand or come forward in the Nat U Hill and raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Hogg,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. I believe that ends budget and salary ordinance discussions. All right. Thank you very much. We, counselors, I've got a note here for a 7-minute stretch recess if we want that. And I'm seeing kind of a signal that we do. We're going to take a 7-minute break, and counselors come back at 6:34. And let's try to be back to start right on time so that we get these items dispensed with for the people that are waiting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sports fans, 6:34, about time. Come on back in.
Garage party.
To interrupt, side chatter. All right, let's resume this schedule. We've got people waiting and they've got places that they would love to be, I know. Item 11 is a request from the Board of Commissioners.
All right, back in the game. Thanks, Coach. Council, I move to approve the Board of Commissioners' request for an additional appropriation in General Fund 1000-0068 in the amount of $180,903.30 in the services category.
Second.
All right, and I want to note just for the record, a Scrivener's error was made on the published agenda, whereas line 33013 should read 30013 professional services. So that's been noted. I've got a motion and a second on this, and I believe we've got Ms. Purdy here from the Commissioner's Office.
Yes, and I think I referenced this the last meeting that I attended. Thinking I was doing the right thing by transferring from different lines and what have you to cover costs that had not been anticipated when we presented the budget last year. I've now got myself into a bit of a pickle, and so this is to help to resolve that particular issue. We are still behind in our other insurance line, and I believe, because I think I've actually already submitted another, this will get us somewhat where we're supposed to be. Let me tell you real fast. Yes, I think. No. Okay. I'll take care of it.
I was going to say, you've submitted something for November 12th. So.
Yeah, that was just a case because I was worried that I wasn't catching everything. And we believe that we have all of the, we might have one more invoice from the cyber issue insurance, but this should take care of it. And then the support for boards, I believe Ms. Crossley actually reminded me of this during our budget session, and I've reached out to the City of Bloomington, and we need to pay them for their for our membership, our joint human resources agreement. And
Human rights.
Human rights.
Human rights.
Human rights. What did I say?
Human resources.
Oh, sorry, no, human rights, yes. And then the professional services, I think if we can get another 39.5, that will get us through the rest of the year.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we've got questions, comments from council. I've got Counselor Hogg first.
Yes, when I saw the support for boards, I was very curious about that. So you're saying the entire $30,000 has something to do with the agreement made with the city? It's not like expanding what we're doing with, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so is the professional services, is that additional money spent on professional services, or is that just because you transferred 30,000 or 39.5 out of it to be able to pay other bills?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually have another spreadsheet where I showed where we'd taken the money from professional services and moved it elsewhere. So the 39.5 will make it whole.
Okay. So really the actual net increase was, well, first of all, the support for boards, which we had forgotten about, and then the liability insurance. So there actually was a net increase in liability insurance.
Correct. Yes, definitely. A net increase, yeah.
Do you know offhand what that total increase was versus what was
Let's see
initially
here.
budgeted?
Yeah, I can tell you. Initially were budgeted 980,133, and we have expended 1,090,420 and 80 cents.
1,090,420.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments from counselors? Counselor Wilt.
Yeah, I just want to, I think I heard something different than what I was thinking. Support for boards, you had budgeted already at 30,000, but then that was
That's
one
what
that had to be used for something else, but actually there's a bill coming due.
Right.
Got it.
Because I thought we were good, and
Is it the entire amount that goes to the city? The
30,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So other boards don't have, at least they don't have access to this line.
Generally, the boards, we've had a couple who have some funds. There's the Women's Commission and the girls, or the coding camp, and your council have approved support of that particular project. So but that's pretty much it.
Okay.
We do give them some things if they ask.
Right. Thanks.
Other questions? Counselor McKim.
And just the reason why we're paying the $30,000 to the city is because we're actually sharing an attorney that
And staff.
that actually a staff attorney that handles the cases that are. Okay.
Yes.
They're a very important function at that. Other comments, questions? All right. Seeing none on this, let's go to public comment on the item. If you have a comment here in the Nat U Hill, come forward to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none on this item 11A, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crawford.
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for waiting. Let's go to item 12, the Aviation Department. Carlos Laverty has been patiently waiting back there.
Council, I move to approve the Aviation Department's request for an additional appropriation in line 30006, contractual and Fund 4801-0000, aviation construction, and the amount of $106,919 in the services category.
Second.
Welcome back, Mr. Laverty.
Good evening. Good evening. Okay, let me get myself here. Item 12. This goes back to the June storm that we had. The airport received a significant amount of damage along our perimeter fence. Repairs were made. And as part of that, we also took down some additional trees along the fence line that hadn't actually fallen, but were put into a more precarious position after the storm. So this is a request for appropriation from the Aviation Construction Fund into our contractual fund to compensate our contractors who came out and responded. And hopefully we see some reimbursement on that with the insurance claim.
Okay. Questions, comments up here from counselors? All right. No, one thing I wanted to say real quick, not necessarily to the item, but you recently hosted a session for BEDC guests and members to come out there to the BMG facility, and you did an awesome job talking about the services. Your board was there, and it was a good display of everything. And I know that you've been before us more often than not lately, and I wanted this not get lost in that shuffle. There's a lot going on at the airport, and we appreciate that very much.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for indulging me there, Council. Let's go to public comment. If you have it on this item, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Let's go to a roll call on this. 12A.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, let's go to item 12B.
Excuse me. Council, I move to approve the Aviation Department's request for a fund-to-fund transfer of cash from Fund 4801-0000, Aviation Construction, to Fund 8108-0000, Project 39, Runway 1735, Lights and Signage, in the amount of $19,032.21.
Second.
Mr. Laverty.
Okay, this is Project 39, where the work was done last year during the installation of some power lines for this project. There was some crossing of existing wires, so there was a change order on this FAA project to conduct some repairs with those wires and also re-engineer a new route for this system, for the airfield lighting system that went in last year. The change order was for approximately $122,000. The FAA picked up 90% of that change order. The local share on that was 10%. The commissioners took half of that, and our share was going to be this $19,000 sum. So just requesting the transfer from the construction fund into the project line.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions, comments from counselors? Looking, no? All right. If you have a public comment on this item, please come forward to the podium here in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote on the item.
Excuse me. Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, let's move to item 12C.
Council, I move to approve the Aviation Department's request for a fund-to-fund transfer of cash from Fund 4802, Aviation Building, to Fund 8108, Project 39, Runway 1735, Lights and Signage, in the amount of $1,524.76.
Second.
All right, Mr. Laverty.
All right, and along with the same project and the change order, we're requesting a transfer from the building fund to this project line once again for the $1,500 amount to submit the final payment to the engineering contractor on this project.
Okay. Questions, comments from counselors? Seeing none? It's an easy day at the airport. Here we go. Let's go to public comment. If you have them, come forward here in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none. We'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much for waiting.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. Let's move on to item 13. This is a request from Employee Services, and as many of you will recall, this is a revisit due to a lack of a unanimous vote when the item was originally presented on our October 15th meeting, and so this item requires a second vote.
Council, I move to approve the Employee Services Department request to approve the new and amended job descriptions and simultaneously amend the 2024 salary ordinance and Fund 1000-0309 County General HR, account line 15116 from Personnel Administrator, Pat D, exempt to HR Director.
Second. I'm sorry.
Exempt to A. Account line 10089 from Employee Services Assistant. Comment C, non-exempt to HR Assistant Director. Pat D, non-exempt account line 10024 from Payroll Administrator to Payroll Administrator Compensation and Compliance. No classification change. And the creation of a new account line and position 10088, payroll administrator attendance and benefits, 40 hours, Pat C, non-exempt with all an effective date of October 20th, 2024.
Second.
E, it's all yours.
All right, cool. So I sent you an email earlier, and if you didn't have a chance to read it, just gives you some additional context for the reasoning for this request. And so I'm going to highlight some of those things now. The most important piece being that each year the auditor's office undertakes a lengthy audit of employee service records, which is a result of a combination of our time cards that we fill out. And so they do this every year, and last year that process took well over 6 months to complete, and they uncovered benefit time errors causing inaccurate payouts and adjustments, which led to frustration from some departments and employees when we had to reach out to them to make those corrections. And this stems from timesheets not being audited in our office regularly, creating the backlog of corrections needed at the end of the year. So we have a new timekeeping system that helps reduce a lot of those errors because the system is programmed to account for things that departments don't need to manually take care of. But the limited staffing in our office is not able to keep up with real-time auditing that needs to be done because errors can still occur based on department entries in the time card. So implementing the timekeeping system required our office to set up accounts for employees and departments, supervisors, conduct training and manage issues, tasks that were previously handled by departments that now we take on because the departments can't do those. They don't have the administrative access to do that. Only we do as an internal control. Though we added a department assistant last year, even with their support, our payroll administrator and the assistant have accumulated significant comp time, and they do work extended hours in the evenings, weekends, and holidays to manage their workload, which still leaves some things unfinished. Because they need to take time off at some point in time to manage that. So payroll and HR are at the heart of employee service. Redundancy and succession planning in these essential roles is crucial as we frequently handle urgent employee and department requests that pull us away from our regular duties. HR responsibilities have also expanded in our office with new benefit programs and initiatives requiring considerable time and research. We take on projects that enhance employee benefits, improve efficiencies, and reduce costs, increasing our workload. And over the last year, the new assistant position took on a lot of these duties, and that position is doing duties above and beyond what their current job description outlines. After hearing concerns at the last meeting, I did meet with Auditor Gregory, and we both worked on a plan to strengthen internal controls between our offices, and we'll continue to assess what processes we need to have in place to ensure transparency and those shared responsibilities between our offices. And also, after reviewing the KSA policy with Council Administrator Shell, we determined that the Employee Services Assistant KSA will not transfer to the new classification, which would be a cost savings or reduction in the projected costs for that position. So we've made significant improvements in our office over the past year. We've had 2 new staff people. We are doing more, but we know that there's just a lot more that we need to do. So this request is not made lightly. I'm not the type of person to make a lot of noise and come here and try and, stand on my soapbox and say this is, essential or we are different than anyone else, but I'm speaking up now because I believe in the importance of a well-staffed department that handles employee needs. So just respectfully asking for your support to fund the request that's before you so that we can ensure employees receive the attention they deserve and help us create a more efficient and responsive office that benefits all departments.
Thank you very much, E. We'll go to council questions or comments. Councilor Iverson.
Well, it's no secret that I support this. In fact, I got out over my skis a little earlier tonight talking about this. So I think that this organization of the department is long overdue for all the reasons mentioned. And of course, this has come before PAC, and we recommended this come to council with the WIS recommendations for approval.
Very much. Other questions or comments? Councilor McKim.
Yeah, Council, I'd like to move that we separate the question into two pieces. The first three, the position reclassifications as one motion, and the new position ordinance amendment as a second.
Second.
We've got a motion to separate the question and a second now before us. Okay. Any discussion on the motion to separate the question? No. All right. We will do a voice vote on the separation, and if I need to, I'll call division or take us to a roll call if I can't determine on voice. All those in favor of this motion to separate the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, it was easier than I thought. All right. Cautious chair every time. So the motion is now separated before us and back to us, with the underlying motion being two separate motions. Further discussion on the underlying motions. Councilor Hawk, and then I'll go to McKim.
In the comments, it was something about the amount that was entered would not be needed that much. Which one? Is that for the new position? What she was talking about?
It's the KSA transfer that she's talking about, yeah.
Okay, so the
think
other, okay.
Which one is it that is
The assistant position moving to assistant HR director, the KSA hire rate will not transfer to the new position or classification.
That's the middle one on the list.
So which line, which number is it? Is it 100?
10089.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the amount supposed to be then?
It's correct on our packet, right? Or no?
I thought that was my question a minute ago. I guess I didn't make myself clear.
I see. Is it different than what's in the packet?
Let me look. I think we just forwarded everything, and then then this came to light after. So hold on just a second.
Because it says 73,528.
Mm-hmm.
That's no longer correct?
I think that's is that the 8-year amount? Oh, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
She's going to check. Let's give her just a second to do this work.
What level is he going to be at? A 1 year? Okay. So.
Should be.
Okay. The level for a Pat D 1 year is 67,164.
So rather than 73,528.
Right. That is the 8-year, which is the KSA that the employee has as a comment.
Get a lot of acronyms going here tonight. All right. Councilor Hawk, was your question answered?
Yes. Kind of, it's not quite what was answered before, because I asked if it was the new position, and everybody's going, yes, that's not.
No, I think it's
middle.
the employee services assistant.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back to discussion on this. Any other discussion? And then I'm going to call these one at a time. All right, go ahead. Councilor McKim.
Yeah, I think I've already made clear my concern for adding a new position this late in the game unless we found some other means to pay for it. And I haven't heard any or come up with any ways to pay for it yet. So I can't support at this point the new position. I certainly can support the reclassifications for existing employees to pay them for what they're actually doing. So.
All right, other comments or questions?
Yeah.
Councilor Wiltz.
Is it helpful or an option at least to table the new position until perhaps the new year so that we're looking at just the 2025 budget once we've gotten through budget and we've gotten some time to think about what said reversions might be funding? I don't know. I'm trying to compromise.
Okay. So we have two separate motions here. We've got reclassification and a new position. And I guess that question, I might throw that back to E. Do you have any comments on any of that Councilor Wiltz or others have shared?
I mean, we're still going to do what we need to do with what we've got. We think we can do a better job if we've got more, but
yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Let's go to Councilor Hawk.
I'm trying to remember the changes in the HR director's position. Was that counting on the fact there would be another new person to someone they would be over?
You're saying where the description changed based on the notion that
I want to know if it was counting on. Yes, if the the description that was sent off to West, did it include? I thought it included that person would be overseeing this other new position, and.
But
Councilor McKim.
This new position is not like entirely a new position from whole cloth. It's essentially a mirror of an existing position, right?
Correct.
So you are already managing a position that's like this one.
Yes.
So I will offer some comments on both of these, and I had a good talk with E earlier today, like first thing. Like probably 900 other issues that come to HR. I hit her first thing on this Monday, but I believe that this department is being called upon to do more wholesale throughout the county in a lot of different ways. And I was in a meeting last week that was a good 3-hour plus meeting where it was the classic, let's have employee services be here. Why? Well, there's employees involved, right? But it's the expertise that we need in that moment, and that often when the pardon me, hits the fan, departments will defer on these things to, let's let employee services handle this because this one is complicated. And even legal may not want to weigh in on this, but employee services, they'll know what to do. And I believe that has increased over time in that department. And I can tell by the quality of messages we're receiving on anything from the healthcare options to the United Way campaign, which is probably a smaller thing, to the number of things, remembered this, don't do it, then all the administrative backside of that, calculating things. And what I remember vividly still, I had to look at all the COLA and retention bonuses that we did years ago. When we did a retention bonus 2 to 3 years ago, I remember it being very hard for employee services to be able to calculate that on a dime, even though we needed that done on a dime in a precise time. I believe, based on my observations, we continue to throw more at employee services and expect it to be what it once was, which was at one point non-existent. I think we've chosen this path. I want to continue to work with my colleagues in figuring out ways that we live into, fund, and put the demands on that program with our support. And to that end, I'm supporting both of these tonight. If it means we got to come back and do more later, we will do it. But I just have this funny notion that we are getting employee services right, and we've got a good matrix in there, and that we've got to kind of follow the lead of that in conjunction with what it does with the auditor's office and what it does with council, and of course what it does in conjunction with commissioners, because this is a multi-headed, strange entity that county government is, but it is by constitution and law what it is. And I think we've had to professionalize it, which is what this agency does. Even since 2019, the fact that we're training people or at least offering training consistently across the board in different ways. The fact that we're asking those questions, what is it you need to grow and to thrive? So I just think that growth indicates to me we've got to figure this out, because we are going to hit a point where we have to, or departments have to, as E has explained well, turn on a dime to answer something, do something, and that department's got to be able to step up in that moment. For instance, the Friday that we had that payroll issue, the first on the scene in that process, alongside auditor, treasurer, all that stuff, is employee relations. And that's who I talked to most throughout that day, literally. How's this going? How are people reacting? And that's who folks, they turn to in addition to yelling at their department heads and electeds, which is rightfully so, because people need their paycheck.
Yes.
So, and they want their benefits, and they want their benefits explained. And I can remember coming on as a counselor, being handed paperwork and no one really saying anything, and they just kind of threw me in a room. We don't do that anymore. We do it right. And so I think that's the end of that. Sorry for talking so long, but it's just my thought. We do have a divided question before us, and I'll just take these one at a time if there's no further comment. And let's just see where we end up. So the first one is on the reclassification question that has been divided for us. And so counselors, this is a vote on the reclassification period, all right? And so what we will do is go to public comment first on the reclassification question that was put to us on this returning item. So if you have public comments on this, please come forward, in this case to the table here in the Nat U Hill, or raise your hand on Teams. All right, Ms.
I also want to say that this is the reclassification as well as the job description approval.
Yeah, just to be clear, reclassification, which includes the job description approval. Okay.
Hello, my name is Joe Davis. I represent the taxpayer objection petitioners.
You can't hold that by that, it'll come apart. Why don't you just go to the podium, please?
Yeah, you can go to the podium. She's cleared the way.
We object to the taxpayer petition of the taxpayer objection petitioners are opposed to these salary increases. They're well beyond the cost of living that is being provided to other positions. If we look simply at item 14 on the agenda, Auditor's Department, which Breanne Gregory will present shortly, we have reclassifications of accounts payable administrator at 62,484 to 65,333. Assistant County Financial Director, reclassification from 56,764 annually to $60,071 annually. I mean, these seem appropriate. But if you look at the reclassification of the personnel administrator to HR director, and from the employee services assistant to HR assistant director, those jump by an incredible amount. I mean, I ask Counselor McKim, who is very good with math, what is that percentage increase? I can see right off it does not fit within the realm of what item 14 is going to address. And so therefore, we question this bloating of this department and whether or not it is worth the taxpayers' investment. So I encourage you not to pass this extreme increase in salary. The title, maybe, sure, give them a new title. That's cheap. But the salary, no. Thank you very much.
Other comments from the public, come forward in the Now You Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none. So this initial question is on the reclassification, which includes the additional or the changes to the job description, adopting that. Okay, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
No.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Okay, so the first part being dispensed with, we'll turn to the second part, which is the new position. And I would invite, once again, the public to make comment on the new position division of the question. If you have a comment, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Got Miss Lisa Ridge.
Good evening. I wasn't going to speak, but I was a little bored, so. Anyway, so I've been here a long time, and I have really seen a difference in what our employee services can do for the departments. I know since COVID, we've had to step back and not do orientations and such, and I know it's due to them being overwhelmed with everything, all the changes. You know, I can't even imagine with FLSA, FMLA, and then keeping all of us department heads in line when it comes to all of our employees and having 60 or so of them. I talk to employee services probably daily. But going back to being able to add an additional position to go back to orientations and things like that for new employees instead of just us department heads handing them a packet and saying call HR or employee services. Because there's a lot of things we can't explain. But if going back and including some of these extra things for new employees, I would encourage you to support this new position, or as Kate, see if it's financially able. But again, I think it can help us, all of us department heads too, that's where we've taken on some of the duties just because of the workload that's changed that I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Ridge. All right, further public comments, come forward to the podium. Mr. Davis.
The taxpayer objection petitioners are strongly against this addition of a duplicate employee. We already have positions of auditor. We already have positions in the government in which some of these supposed needs could be delegated. Why are we bloating this department? Why are we increasing the burden on the taxpayer by adding new positions all the time? Especially when our taxpayer is not even earning anything similar to what these positions pay. Why are we always looking to just add more jobs? Why don't we look to become more efficient and reduce the number of employees and just do what is critical? Sure, everyone would like to have a helper. I'd love to have a helper at my property, but there's no mechanism for me to just have a helper funded by Monroe County. If that changes, please let me know. I'll give you a title and a classification for that. But right now, this just seems like bloat. And we are already bloated. The taxpayers do not want to be funding a gazillion jobs in which we don't even know what the service is being provided. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other comments? Seeing none. Let's go to did you have
We can,
do you want to come back to comments from
Right.
council? Councilor Hawk?
right, I just want to let people know, and I know that you people on the council understand what my position is, and it's not the same as yours, and I understand that, but it doesn't mean I have to change to meet what you folks want. Many of these jobs that's been put under HR is truly the job of the auditor's office. If you go to any of the state meetings, I welcome you to.
I do.
You're going to find that the salaries and all of that portion is the auditor's responsibility. Now, everybody say it works better to do it this way, but that is exactly how you grow expenses for county government. If this was all in the auditor's office, there would be people there to cross-train, there'd be somebody there to back it up. Then the auditor could be overseeing all these people, not doing it herself, just overseeing it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So it's hard for me to just keep saying, yes, I agree to going down a path that I didn't agree that we should have gone. And that's no secret. It does not mean that I think they're not doing a good job. It just is in the wrong office.
Comments? Somebody else?
Yeah, and similarly, I just, what?
See, you were like, yes, no, am I gonna say a comment? I just watched it, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I also wanted to clarify that I also think that the Employee Services is doing a great job, and in principle, I support this reorganization and this position. I would like us to figure out how to pay for it, and And I, honestly, I probably would have. I was gone this last week for work. I was not able to put forth any effort that I otherwise might have in doing so, and I apologize for that. So, I'm going to be voting no, but that doesn't mean that I think any of you are wrong for voting yes, and I think there are a lot of good reasons to vote yes, and we can still try to figure out how to affect some savings. So. I just think creating new positions is a much heavier lift than paying other existing employees for what they're doing.
Okay. Other comments? Councilor Wilt.
Yes, so I appreciate the email that you sent to council, kind of outlining what some of your justification, but mostly what you've been working on since we last heard from you. And the fact that you have been working with the auditor fairly closely, I think is important, and I think it speaks a little bit to what Councilor Hawk's concerns have been. But I feel strongly that by pulling your office out, as happened a while back, I think before I started, you used to be in the auditor's office, I think at one point, and the two offices are very closely linked, work together, have internal controls that I think benefit the processes that we certainly don't make any easier for you on a constant basis, changing and adding jobs and descriptions as we do. I am really torn because I so very much support the professionalization of what your department is doing, both payroll administration, human resources, the professional development services that you've been offering. And I have it's a little bit of a principle that I really need to see the funding, which is why I'm torn. I I think I'm still torn. I'm still trying to decide. At like the number of people sitting up here and realizing that's a problem. What happens if the vote ties?
It
If our
fails.
vote
If the
fails,
vote ties, it does not pass nor fail. It would require another motion from the council to dispose of the item.
Could we table it at that point?
Yes.
one thing I'll say is if it passes, fails, or ties, however that interpretation is, we come back to our business just the next week, and maybe this is part of it or some other solution. So before we get too far down the road of peril and doom, we've got more to do. I saw Councilor Iverson, then I'll go McKim.
Yeah, I'm not changing my position. I support this. I think this is really important. I think the growth of county government is important. I think making sure that we are, providing services to the public and to our employees is very important. What I said earlier, I truly believe, I think we need to make sure that this is one of the places that people want to come to work. And once they get here, they're valued when they work here. So, I'm making the arguments that I made in PAC. I'm making the arguments that I made when we came here. So I'm repeating myself, but I think it is bearing repeating that retention, professionalization, decreased burden on department heads, and the services that we're providing out into the community tangentially are all important reasons why I'm supporting this. I do hear the fiscal questions, but I do have a lot of faith in our staff and us to find ways to make sure that this works, because if we get this right, it's going to have the domino effects down the line, and I think that's really, really important.
We'll now go to Councilor McKim and then Crossley.
And I just wanted to be clear that this is not an appropriation. It doesn't need an advertisement, right? So it could be added to any, if it were to fail, it could be added, a similar motion or a similar proposal could be added to any council agenda.
Always more time. All right, Councilor Crossley.
I definitely agree with Councilmember Iverson's point that he just made there. And we have, we added lots of different benefits. We also added the parental leave and family leave. And so I think that is also something that our employees will definitely be taking advantage of, which in turns will make your office work a little bit more harder. And so I just feel as though I definitely want to say that I'm supportive of this. As I said before, I'm kind of actually surprised that the county has never had something like this formally in the first place. And I get it, and I think we are moving in the right direction. I also understand the fact that, in other counties, they have it in the auditor's office. But as I'd like to think that sometimes I think we are different. And I think different is okay. And if it works for our office or if it works for our county, let's try it. Let's figure it out. Let's make it happen. If we can make the argument for other departments, I definitely think this is one of them that can be made. So that's all I have to say about that. And I will be supportive. And if we are trying to find funding for this, I think it is the will of the council to figure out how to make it. Because if we're sitting here saying that this is very much important, then, we'll make it happen. Again, we made it for other things. As we hear from the public, I don't know, maybe bloated is a good thing. We're getting there with a lot of different things. And I just like to think that, with the expansion of a lot of different things, that I think that this could work. So I'm saying that I'm in support of this, but I would like to see all of us work together to make sure this happens. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's been fairly discussed. Let's see how we do on this. We've done public comment. We've come back to councilor comment. We'll now go to a roll call vote, and this is on the new position.
I'm sorry. I needed some clarification. Was there a motion made with regards to this position and who made it?
There was a
It was divided.
He divided it. So basically, we took care of reclassification, and then this is purely on the new position.
Okay, I'm just trying to keep my notes straight here, so.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so this is for the approval of the new position.
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
No.
Counselor McKim? Motion passes 4-2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, E. Let's move on to item 14. And again, I want to note for the record, due to a lack of a unanimous vote when the item was originally presented on October 15th, this item requires a second vote.
Council, I move to approve the auditor's request to amend the job descriptions for the accounts payable administrator and the assistant county financial administrator. The auditor is also requesting to change the titles and amend the classification above Wagner, Irwin, Chile, WIS's recommendation, and amend the 2024 salary ordinance and fund 1000-0002 county general auditor as follows. Account line 10016 from accounts payable administrator Pat B to accounts payable director Pat C, and account line 10017 from assistant county financial director Pat A to accounts payable financial administrator Pat B with an effective date of October 20th, 2024.
Second.
All right. Auditor, would you like to add some more discussion on this?
Sure. This isn't new. You've heard from me a few times on this. Obviously, we're bringing it back because it wasn't unanimous at the previous meeting. All we're trying to do here is accurately reflect the duties in my office for these two positions, and reflecting the duties and as well as the change in organization that came with some updates to processes and procedures within my department. This also allows for the cross-training that's so necessary to make sure we're providing the best service we can. As you're all aware, we updated the job description, sent them off to WIS for review. It came back in a manner we were not expecting. And upon some research done by my office, we're asking you to reconsider those classifications, as we feel WIS did not have a clear understanding of the roles and what they entail. We looked very closely at other like positions within the county and found our concerns to be accurate. They're clearly misclassified here. So I'm just asking for your reconsideration to put these at the correct level.
Thank you very much, Auditor. We'll go to comments, questions from Councilor Iverson.
So this came, as you all know, before PAC. We've talked about this a lot. We decided this was more of a fiscal matter. This came before council. I supported this the last time around. I will continue to support it this time. I think this is an important move forward, and we've been given a lot of reasons to support it, and that's why I will be supporting it.
Other comments or questions? Councilor McKim.
And agree that it's a fiscal issue, and I'm supporting it based on the auditor's promise to attempt to make it fiscally neutral for 2025.
Appreciate that. Other comments or questions from councilors? I will say every headache, every problem is always made easier if and when the folks bringing these things before us can figure out things like that. So that is always appreciated. I'm not implying for anyone that doesn't that that's not part of the process, but if you have solutions, we will have a lot more smiles. And so we appreciate that a lot. It's helpful. All right. Any further discussion? All right.
I always appreciate your commentary.
Well, thank you. I wanted to be a baseball announcer, but it didn't work out. All right. Let's go to public comment and hear their commentary. If you have comments, come forward in the Nat U Hill to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none. Let's go to a roll call vote on this.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right.
And I just, for the record, I want to state that Counselor Hawk left the meeting and that I did not have a signature page prepared for that motion to split. I'm going to use your electronic signatures for that motion. So
We're trying to keep you on your toes with a
I know.
little change up there. Thank you, Michelle. Let's go to item 15, request from Highway Department.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request to amend the job descriptions for the Stormwater Specialist, formerly MS4 Assistant, and Stormwater Inspector.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Ridge, thanks for waiting so late tonight. It's good to have you back up here.
Thank you. We were just updating 2 job descriptions and titles. We followed the proper procedure that's set out in your resolution for reclassifications. We are going with WIS approval on adopting those classifications at the same level that they are at and with the title changes.
All right. Thank you very much. Comments or questions from council? Councilor McKim.
Only that I'm always glad to see the MS4 term eliminated from our position descriptions. Just because the public has no idea what we're talking about.
Acronyms are a problem, always. All right. Other comments or questions? All right. How about public comments? If you have them, come forward to the podium in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
All right. We'll go on to item B.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request to amend the 2024 salary ordinance and Fund 1197-0000, Stormwater Management, Account Line 10076, from MS4 Assistant to Stormwater Specialist with an effective date of October 20th, 2024.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Rich.
This is the same scenario. There's no job classification change. It's a title change and updating the job description.
Thank you very much. Anything else from council? Questions, comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go to public comments. If you have them, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Item C.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request to approve the new position and to simultaneously amend the 2025 salary ordinance and Fund 1197-0000, Stormwater Management, to add account line 11066, Stormwater Technician, 40 hours, Pat B, non-exempt, with an effective date of January 1st, 2025.
Second.
All right, Ms. Ridge.
This position was created after the new general permit and state requirements was passed, and our ordinance took effect July 1st, or had to take effect by July 1st. I believe it was passed June 15th. For our local ordinance. That also includes additional plot plans that run through our planning and building department. It also includes that we took over the grading and logging permits duties from the planning department. So that's why we went through the procedures to request a new position to add to these new duties that are required at the state level.
Thank you very much. Questions? Councilor Iverson.
PAC members approve forwarding this with recommendation of council for approval.
Very much. Councilor McKim.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear, kind of explain to the public, why I do support this one and why that's not being hypocritical versus my opposition to the creating the employee services. In this case, this is a single funding source and a single budget. We cannot repurpose any of these revenues for any other priority. It's not fungible with anything else. It is up to Ms. Ridge and Ms. Thatonia to make the budget work with the positions that they want. And so for that reason, I'm certainly willing to support this.
Other comments or questions? Seeing none. We'll go to public comment on item C. If you have them, come forward to the Natu Hill to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, we'll move on to item D.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request for an additional appropriation and Fund 8189-0000, Business 37, North Bridge, number 913, in the amount of $970,600 in the services category.
Second.
Ms. Bridge.
So back in the spring, we had applied for the NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability through NDOT. We submitted that application in December, was awarded in April. We went through the RFP process. Now we have a contract with USI Consultants. So the amount of that contract is the $970,600. There will be an 80% reimbursement from NDOT through that, but this is appropriating the line at 100% for that contract.
Okay. Questions, comments from counselors? Seeing none. Any public comments on this item? If you have them, come forward to the podium in the Natu Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, that takes us to item E.
Council, I move to approve the Highway Department's request for a fund-to-fund transfer of cash from Fund 1171-0000, County Major Bridge, to Fund 8189-0000, Business 37 North Bridge, number 913, in the amount of $194,120.
Second.
All right, Ms. Ridge.
And this is just to transfer the cash to cash. This would be our 20% match for that contract.
All right, thank you very much. Questions, comments, counselors? The others took the steam out of them, so they have less to say right now, which is okay for you. All right. Any other comments? All right. We'll go to public comments. If you have any, come forward in the Natu Hill to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. All right. We will go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Ridge. Thanks for being with us and staying so late. Let's go to item 16. This is a request from the Board of Commissioners / Auditor's Office, but you all know it as our ongoing ARPA discussion, and we actually have something to do tonight.
Okay, Council, I move to approve additional appropriations from the American Rescue Plan Act, Fund 8950-0000, in the amount of $444,271.86 in the services category.
Second.
All right. So on this item, counselors, I guess I'll just jump in because I think there's no one left but me and the auditor maybe to introduce this. On this item, we are taking care of a lot of things, and this is one of the biggest things on this agenda, if not for all the other good things we're doing. First, Rural Transit Shadow Service to address an ongoing headache in this community that has been a real thorn and a plague for yet another year. This assists that with funding. It also uses ARPA dollars for a Bloomington Transit fix route, which is a huge thing in any of our services. I think when Counselor McKim and I ran in 2020, we talked about something potentially like this, but not to this specificity. And now we have an opportunity to not only do that, but partner with Bloomington Transit, ARPA rural repair lost revenues, a smaller amount, and of course, continued yet another item of food support in the community, which should tell us a lot about issues in the community. But we've talked about that for 2 to 3 years. This is yet another appropriation in the amount of $108,000. So this is a lot here, and I don't want the lateness of the evening to diminish any of that, but it's a lot moving forward on the right things. And it's a good way to start to close ARPA out and say goodbye to this tremendous program. And I want to add this again. It took a willing Congress, or at least some in Congress, it took a willing president to sign that into law and to send that money to states and local governments. And to that tune, today alone, $444,000 will take care of people who need transportation in Ellisville, people that will go to Hoosier Hills Food Bank to get food, neighbors, not someone else. These are our neighbors who need transportation food. And someone will take a Bloomington Transit route down 17th to Vernal Pike, and they'll get to their job and they'll get to whatever they need to get to in their lives, and they'll be supported because all those things happen. And I just want to, we need to remember that, honor that as we say goodbye to these as this goes. So anyway, I'll stop talking. I've talked too much. But counselors, I'll open it up to your comments or questions. Counselor McKim.
Yes, I completely agree. This is huge. I want to remind everybody, of course, that this is, or the public, that this is really, this is only for 2025. But one of the reasons why I'm so enthusiastic about this is that I do think we have a funding source for continuing the service. If it winds up working out and is useful and we can make it useful, we have the economic development lit, and I think that is a perfect use of the ED lit. I know that's a future decision, but I just want to make it clear we're not just funding 1 year with no possible idea of how to continue it in the future.
Yeah, truly. Counselor Iverson.
I've talked about this earlier tonight. I think it's just a great idea. Also, Hoosier Hills Food Bank and food is just so needed. My question is, should this pass, what would be the balance of ARPA funds that we would need to appropriate by the end of the year?
Sure, great question. Right now, we have around $92,000 unobligated. However, that amount is going to change slightly. Some programs are still being wrapped up. So the next item, we're actually de-appropriating. There's going to be probably another de-appropriation, and then we'll be able to have that final figure to you and move forward with the other plans that are not implemented today.
Okay.
I would just note that where it says ARPA Hoosier Hills Food Bank food, I believe that's also going towards a generator.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And I have
2 generators.
Yes, it's still food support, obviously, because the generators are to keep the food refrigerated. So
they preserve food. And we know in June, 2 years, Junes in a row, we've been hit by mighty powerful storms, and they have affected those things. So yeah. Other comments or questions? One thing I just want to express, I received a very nice call from the town manager of Ellisville, Indiana, and he expressed a lot of sentiment towards wanting to continue to work for those solutions. And I know at times I and others may use harsh rhetoric about this situation, but it's usually out of the frustration of if we don't do what we need to do. I appreciated that call very much. And one thing I passed to Mr. Farmer is that we don't know at any time who will be in these chairs, their chairs, or any chairs in this community. So whoever has got their eyes on particularly that shadow service or mobility or really anything around hunger, they've got to monitor these things moving forward because this is not, the need won't go away. And so I appreciated his call. I also appreciated his commitment to continue to work on partnering with the county. And I mentioned that we could do a better job in figuring these things out in the process too. All right, any other comments or questions? Let's go to public comment in the room, and we welcome Mr. Imge, who has been dedicated in here since 5 to talk on this item.
And I'm talking at the right mic this time, so I apologize previously. Christopher Imge from the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. I mean, the shadow service for rural transit, it seems like this is a summer repeat. We've been through this. I keep talking about the need, and I think Chris Myers over at Rural Transit maximizes those dollars. We've heard from the ridership on that, on how necessary they are. I'm just getting those elderly individuals to their doctor's appointment. We see at the emergency care room how in flux and overcrowded they are. We had to take my father-in-law in there, and the wait is just so detrimental. So these are investments. But the service on Vernal Pike into the county, which it's been a long process just to get to this point, working with John Connell, who's done an amazing job at Bloomington Transit with some very reasonable proposals, is a game changer, off the charts. We've been working for this first to get the statute changed by the city just to allow this service, and then coming up with a service that the kind of county likes and that Bloomington Transit can do. I think this is a better particular route than the original express that was going on 3rd Street. I think the Vernal Pike is more county, can kind of go to all of the residents on that area and go to Park 48. This is the area with Ivy Tech, Cook Medical, Simtra, I'm probably Singoda, all of these employers, and giving people a chance to sort of find that employment, find that educational opportunity at Ivy Tech. And I can't say enough about the work of this council, of the commissioners, and the city council last year, and just trying to make this possible. And I think this is a very wonderful moment, and I'm very proud to be a Monroe County citizen right now. And the chamber supports this use of ARPA fund, which has been amazing to see this, and it's going to be missed when that $92,000 is no longer with us. But thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Other comments from the public? If you have them, come forward or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Seeing no other comments, let's go to a roll call vote on these ARPA dollars.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, let's go to item B.
Council, excuse me. Council, I move to oh boy, let's do this again. And see. Council, I move to approve a de-appropriation for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund 8950-0000, account line 36709, ARPA Rural Housing Repair, and the amount of $36,709 in the services category. No, okay. Because there isn't.
Okay, it should be 294,873.88. Sorry.
It's okay. It's we're bloated tonight, so. Okay, let me restate that. Council, I move to approve a de-appropriation from the American Rescue Plan Act, Fund 8950-0000, and account line 36709, ARPA Rural Housing Repair, in the amount of $294,873.88.
Second.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got a de-appropriation here. Auditor, do you want to speak to this in any way?
Sure. So this is just the amount received from the Commissioner's Office that they're comfortable de-appropriating at this time. Like I mentioned earlier, there will be more coming, and that will give us the total dollar amount requiring obligation then, and that will be coming to you shortly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Other comments, questions? All right, let's go to public comment. If you have any in the room, please come forward to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. Go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, let's go to item 17.
Council, I move to open for discussion and approve Resolution 2024-36, Monroe County Council 2025 meeting schedule.
Second.
And Ms. Shell, this is your moment, the meeting schedule discussion. Do you want to share something?
Yes, and just give me a couple seconds here.
These are important things. We don't want to shortchange it.
Okay, so this is option 1 for you to consider. Please note that there are no PAC meetings for October, November, and December, and that's to help try and keep the departments, trying to get them to get everything done before the budget sessions. What I'd like to note for your consideration is budget sessions on this option would begin on August the 26th and the 27th. So there would not be a PAC meeting on the 26th and 27th. Then budget sessions would go on till September 3rd, 4th, 10th, and 11th. We would then have council meetings on the 16th and the 23rd. With this option, we could have the public hearing along with the first reading by September the 30th. So that would help alleviate maybe a little bit of the being overrun in October with those meetings. You need to decide on both options if you want to have a meeting in November on November the 10th or the 11th or the 12th, due to the 11th being a holiday. So that's that option. The second option then shows the same, same scenario with regards to PAC meetings. This has all of the budget sessions in September. We would go ahead and have a meeting on August the 26th as normal, skip the meeting on September the 9th because we're going to be overloaded, and have then resume council meetings on the 23rd. This still allows for us to have the first, the public hearing and the first reading on September the 30th. Again, you will need to decide on that November date. With your October on both options, you could eliminate the 28th because that would be budget adoption, and eliminate maybe an October 28th date on both options. So, this is clearly at your discretion. So.
All right, let's hear about your discretion. What do you think, counselors? What
Option
are your
2.
thoughts? Even folks who may be enjoying from the peanut gallery can weigh in on this. Counselor Crossley.
I was gonna say I like option 1 the best. With it starting early, I think it's worth a shot to see with budget hearings starting in August, towards that last week of August. I think that is actually a decent way of going about doing it. I think it also will help alleviate some of the stress from our council office as well, because in addition to budget hearing, I would assume we would also still be doing a lot of Sophia Travis grant funding as well. So I think that gives us a lot of a room for buffer. And then in terms of, let's see here, like the final adoption of budget, just in case there is some big changes that we have to make, considering the discussions that we've had this evening, that would give us an opportunity to make those changes and for council and auditor's office to help make those changes before the deadline is due. So I am more inclined of option 1. And then, of course, we need to figure out November meeting. Wednesdays is usually our friends meeting in the city. And so we don't want to compete with them because we all want to tune in to see what they have to say. So I would recommend, because I love watching those meetings, and I really, really do. No shade. So I would recommend November 10th to be, because I totally forgot today is Monday. But feels like a Tuesday or Wednesday at this point. But yeah, again, option 1, and with a date of November 10th.
I hear a strong expressed sentiment for option 1. Any other counselors? Well, Kim, do you need a vote, or are you that good enough?
Yes, I do need a vote because it is a resolution.
Oh, it is it? All right. Well, Counselor Iverson.
Does it matter to you whether to sandwich a meeting between a Sunday and a holiday, or to have the holiday and then the meeting?
Personally, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Down here, our soon depart is quite relieved. All right. Counselors, we've got a motion for option 1 offered before us. I'm not hearing an objection to it. I'll second that for consideration. Let's see if there's public comment on this, because it's our last item of the night. If you are a member of the public, have a comment on our calendar, come forward in Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right. Let's go to a roll call vote on option 1.
Counselor McKim.
Pass.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1 pass.
All right. Let's move on to item 18. That's council comments. Counselors, any comments? Counselor Wiltz.
So I have 2 things. First, I wanted to explain my vote earlier, not for any reason except that I do a lot of processing out loud and don't often work things out completely. And so anyway, when I voted for the new position, even though I expressed a lot of reservations about it, I think that when I know I'm ultimately going to support it, which is why I talked about tabling it, I feel very strongly that we will be better with that position and with a whole department of employee services. And if I know I'm going to support something, and I know that the work that needs to happen to get to where I'm comfortable with it is kind of more on us and me, then I don't feel like I need to waste the public or staff or really all of our time again in a public meeting, which is what it would ultimately have took. But that's on me, and that's just and you're welcome for that little insight into Kate's brain. But I felt like since I had babbled before, I wanted to let you all know what I was thinking there. So we got to work on getting money for that position now that I just said all that. The other thing is, especially in this last week and the week before the election, and given some recent communications that I've had with folks in county government, and I just want to remind folks to please treat each other with kindness and grace, and understand that we're all out here trying to do our best, and go forth and vote.
Other council comments? Councilor Crossley.
I was just gonna say, I emailed the surveyor this morning or afternoon. Either way, I emailed him today to give a special thank you for the voter dashboard. As a fellow nerd who likes to nerd out, not just on CATS meetings or city meetings, but the dashboard has been really helpful just to look at the numbers and the projections. So that is some real good data that we continue to see there, and it's been refreshing. Even my 17-year-old has been pumped looking at it, and she can't even do any voting, but just because she's also a nerd like her mom. But that being said, I'm not gonna get up here and tell somebody who to vote for because, yeah. But we do have 8 more days left, and that being said, whatever you feel your heart is inclined to do, just make sure that you go vote, because a no vote is a vote. So make sure you have your say. All politics are local, and we got some real interesting races here, and we need to go exercise that right. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Council, we've done a lot in this meeting, and I appreciate your patience through all that. I know sometimes these schedules are not always easy, but I appreciate you did the hard work that everybody kind of signed up to do. And although it's not always easy, I appreciate you getting through it. We'll get through it in the next meeting too and beyond. So with that, there's no other business for this body, thankfully. We will be adjourned.